Hey, welcome everybody to a Memorial Day art stream. Yes, we are back. Or I am back, and you might be with me. Who knows? Anywho, hey, my name is Nathan Bonner. I'm the artist and creator of Indavo, Seamus Stone, animator on Don't Bunny and Clive, comic artist responsible for the interior art of the Big Muddy Monster comic, issue 2 coming out. It's the True Life Tales of Murfreesboro, Illinois' very own cryptid, a very Bigfoot-like creature, except it's blonde with red eyes. It smells terrible, which we cannot quite relay appropriately in the comic unless it's scratch and sniff. We'll have to check into that. Maybe for issue 3. Anywho, so as you may recall, last time, or you may not recall, I have been creating a character from scratch, which I don't usually do, but this was done mostly for the point of illustration, to illustrate to people who may be interested in how much time this takes, how much work this takes, the process involved. So I'm creating here Sienna. She is a Empire of the Sword security officer, and she's been drawn out. Right now, there are no bones. There's no rigging. This is just basically just an illustration. We have here all the various layers in their appropriate order, and the eyes are set up. The mouth here does not yet have its own group, and it's going to stay that way until after rigging. I've been thinking about this, and what I had been doing is I had been making all possible mouth iterations, the 5 open, close, because I don't do the phonetic mouth movements where the mouth changes shape to mouth. The sounds like sounds and stuff like that. I do the anime style lip flaps, which is for cost effective and would enable ease in translation to other languages. Not that I expect that Indavo will be able to translate into another language and redubbed, but who knows? Anyway, I like to look at that, and so I'm going with that. But so normally I would do that, but this time I'm not. Aha! No, I'm going to wait until after the smart bone process. Once the mouth has been rigged with the smart bones, I will make the other versions of this mouth. Because right now, the exterior of the mouth is here, but also behind there's a tongue, there's teeth, there's the background for the mouth. Everything's there, ready to go. So I'm going to rig all that, move it, and then I am going to go ahead and at each iteration, after I've recreated that, reanimate that out with the smart bones. Just by moving some points around very quickly, very easily, very effectively, one hopes. So that's the idea behind it. We're going to see if this works this time. But right now, today, we're going to have to make the control rig, or the bone structure, for this character. So what I've already done is I've already put all of these various layers into what I did is select them all. I went up here to add new layer, and it was group with the selection. So everything went into a new group layer, and I turned that group layer into a bone layer. It's got the little bone right there, so we are ready to go. So all right, let's get started. So make sure you're on your bone layer. Go to your add bone tool. Simple enough so far. Now what I usually do is I usually put like a hip or control bone that will kind of jut out, and this one will not actually. The hip area may be rigged to this, but most things are not going to be rigged to this. This is for me to grab and push, because every other bone that we're going to have is going to go eventually back down to here, and this is going to be our number 1 bone. So this is going to be the master control bone, if you want to call it that. Which sounds really cool, so we might just call it that. But we're not going to call it anything right now. We're just going to just kind of drag that out here. I kind of make it big, and the reason why is because you want to kind of see it so you can grab onto it later and move it around. All right, so with that selected, we're going to make sure that we're still on the add bone tool here, and we are going to now add a bone for like the waist bend, and another one kind of leading up the torso. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered yet, okay? So that's fine. So we're going to, once we get to here, let's get a little bit closer here so we can kind of see these details a bit more. Okay, so now we're going to do one that's just going to be like a shoulder control here. And we're going to go back to select bone now. We don't want to try to do that just yet. So we're going to move that to here. I'm going to put another shoulder right there. All right. Groovy. Okay, so now we're going to move up to going back to select bone tool. Select the chest bone, the upper torso bone. Sure. It's B3 listed here. I don't usually name each bone individually. You can if you really want to, but I tend not to because is it necessary? No, but can you do it? Yes. Should you do it? That's up to you. So I'm going to add in the neck bone right to there. Okay, so I need a bone right across here, and that controls that. All the head will be rigged to that. Okay, before we go any further, let's check our parenting by clicking on here. You can see that everything goes down to the master bones, and that's what we want. All right. Arm bones. Okay, this is going to be tricky. Usually I put some down, and then after everything's rigged and I see how they manipulate, I move them around a little bit to kind of better flow. The arm, it doesn't quite look terrible when it bends and moves. So using the bone select tool, I selected the shoulder bone there, and we're going to go to right about around in here because you can see that the line, so you can kind of guess that this is where that lower arm is. So the bend is going to be right around in this area here. Now I could have done the pin bone cheat with these arms because they're not very complicated, but that would give a great kind of almost parallaxing view. Quite easy without any smart bone rigging. But your own arms have to be very, very kind of tubular and not have a lot of points in between the beginning and the end of each section. And unfortunately, I tend to put a lot of points there. So anyway, that being neither here nor there, we're just going to continue on down to right about the wrist area. And this is going to be the wrist bone right here. Now, I don't do individual fingers most of the time. There are occasions that I do, but most of the time I don't. Each hand position is its own hand position, and right now there is only one because I've only put one in here. I may review the storyboards later and see what hands I need and then import only the necessary ones in. I usually do an entire gamut of about 15 of them, but that may be not necessary here. So we're just going to kind of forge on ahead. I'm going to put that guy in here, stopping right about there, and just drag that down to here. And now for the wrist and the hand, bam. Okay, just check our parenting. Yes, everything does look like it parents all the way back to here. That's what we want. All right. Okay, so now we can select our master control or hip bone. And I'm going to go to the add one here. And I know that the leg is, this is also a little tricky too. Sometimes I end up fudging the points in the shapes when animating to make it work better. Because it's kind of really hard to, especially with this type of uniform with that kind of British-esque flap off the side there. Ooh. Anyway, so stopping about the knee level there. Okay, so that's about where the knee goes, and now we're going to go down here to the foot control. All right, and I'm just going to put that off to the side right here. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to put it off to the side here. Thinking ahead here. Because this foot will, in the body turn, will slide off to the, what is our left. So we're going to go back up to that master control bone, or hip bone, whatever you want to call it. See that there's a little bit of problem right there. That is misaligned ever so slightly. I think I'm going to go ahead and fix that because it's bugging me a bit. Back to the hip layer. We're just going to grab the point transform tool and kind of bring that over a slight bit. I can see how the hips are kind of made and how they overlap into the legs there. Maybe there's a better way of doing that, but I don't do it. Ooh. Anyway, so down to the knee there. And let's make sure that that parenting was right. Okay, that goes right back to there. For sure, I selected that, right? But I did. So we're going to go down to the ankle or foot, and boom, there we go. Okay, now selecting off that. Oh, it's not necessarily that the bones actually touch too. As long as they're linked together, it'll be fine. So there we go. That is the bone structure, basically. There will be there's going to be two other bones though. But we're not going to. What we're going to do is we're going to go up to here. We're going to make sure that none of these bones are selected, because these bones are independent. And these are your target bones. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a target bone right here. Hold down on the old shift key, make sure that's right. And we're going to go up to the name. Instead of B20, we are going to call that right foot, because I always go by what according, not the character's perspective, but it's the character's left foot, but it's on the right foot when I'm looking at it. So that's the way I do things. You can do things however you want to, but yeah, that's how I do it. Okay, make sure you got show label on there, and that little name will show up there, and that's will show you that that is indeed the right foot. That's the target. But we're going to go to transform bone. We're going to move that up to right about there. It's got to be at the tip, because we're setting this bone. We're going to do this right now, not later. Heck, why wait? Okay, so we select our right leg, lower leg bone here, which is B15. And we are going to go to target right here. It's right now targeted for nothing, but now it's going to target that foot bone. So wherever this foot bone moves, this bone's going to try and point at that these little concentric circles right here. And that will give us a way to anchor our feet and move the character without having to worry about the feet being animated into one point on the ground. It'll be locked there until we move this bone. That's handy when you're doing work cycles. Otherwise, your character's sliding all over the place and you're having to kind of use onion skins to make sure you're getting your feet. And the onion skin property is right down here. Make sure your feet are where they're supposed to be. This was much easier to do. Glad they came up with it. All right, so we're going to go here. I'm going to add in bone, and we're going to add in a holding down shift key. Make sure that's at a 90-degree angle. This is our, just going to call this left foot. And show label. Okay, make sure that those guys are not parented to anybody. Oh no, I messed up. See, I accidentally had that lower leg bone selected, and now it's parented there. We don't want that, so we're just going to click there. And now that red arrow is gone, that is no longer parented. It is a free floater. And we're going to go back up to here, and we're going to go to targeting and left foot and kaplow. So there we go. That is the basic bone structure. Now, there are all the smart bones that I usually put on. Not going to do that just yet. For the most part, what we're just going to be looking at the moment is the basic rigging here. So, master control. Like I said, sometimes I put a hip bone in there, sometimes I don't. Actually, yes. Let's put a hip bone in there and just see what happens this time. So we're going to put hip bone right about there, and we're going to grab this guy. I'm going to resize, going to scale this one down, and I'm going to move it up. I moved everything else up, but that's okay. I'm going to grab this one right here, and we're going to go to our bone transform. We're just going to grab this point. We're just going to grab that, click that right back down into place, and everything's pretty well it needs to be for the most part. Let's kind of circle this guy around. Rotate this guy just a little bit here. Make sure they're better looking. Oh, set. Yes, not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay. So this time around, I'm not actually going to be rigging anything to the main bone. Daring, I know. So, okay, this is our hip bone. So we're going to go down to our hip layer. Hips. Okay, so you'll see that now the bone layer has shifted down. You got all your drawing tools up here in your fill tools. Don't need any of that right now, but what we are interested in is this little guy right here. This is the bind points. This will bind the points of our shape to this bone. So we can just drag, or you can hit Shift A to select all, and you hit bind points. And you'll see that they've gotten bigger. Those red dots got bigger, and if you just kind of click off of them and go to bind points, you'll see that now they're no longer like that kind of generic color. They've taken the color of the bone, which is orange, on, and that's what we want. Okay, before we go anywhere else, like to another layer, we're going to go back to here, select that bone, And what we need to do is on the torso here, we need to select a couple of points, a few points actually, to this. Now, what I would say to do is we need to select these guys right here. Okay, the reason why, because if I just do the bottom two and I'm moving this bone, these points are going to drop very quickly over to here. And that's going to cause like a loop-to-loop effect, like a voidable form. So we select these 4 points here, these top 2 points as well. Whenever we're manipulating the torso over, it will hopefully not cause as many problems. So what we're going to do is go up here, bind points, bam. All right, moving right along here. All right. So we're going to grab these 2 points. This is a short one. And we're going to hit right to there. Okay. Looks like there's not too much to do. Well, actually, I would probably do a little bit more than normal. So we're going to take this one, that one, that one. Guys over here, those 2 there, and those 2 at the top here are going to be rigged to the central torso bone. These 4 points here are going to be rigged to the shoulder bones, which we will do right now. It's very important to make sure that on each shape layer you don't have any of these small blue dots whenever you click onto it, because that means it's an unattached point, and when you try to move things, it's not going to go anywhere. That's a problem. We don't want to do that. We want everything to go where it's supposed to go with the bones. So we're going to make sure that this shoulder bone selected, bind those points right there. I'm going to select the other shoulder bone, and we're going to bind those points right there. Okay. Moving along quite well. This is going to be a bit tricky, but it will work. So let's hit save to make sure that we are saving frequently and often, just like voting in the state of Illinois. That's an old joke. All right, so the neck. We're just going to grab the bottom kind of 2 points of the neck and the of your kind of your jugular vein points here, basically, and we're going to bind those points on there. That's kind of what I always do. Your biology may vary on that. We are also going to go here. Now that we have that bone selected, we're just going to select all the bottom points there, hit bind points. Wow. Okay, these shoulder pad thingies. So these closest to the neck are going to stay with the torso. Everything else will manipulate with the shoulder bones. We'll see how this works. This looks like. And also on the shoulder bones, I'm going to put some constraints on them very shortly. So let's go ahead and get these done first. Let's get these shoulders kind of squared away. Okay, let's get to these points here. Back over to this one. Combine those points over there. I'm moving too fast. Sorry, I'm not trying not to take forever. And bind points. Okay, bam. All right, let's test this out for a bit. Ooh, let's also select all, because what we're getting into, let's go up to our bone layer. So we're going to go up to the bone layer here. Boop. And we're going to hit select all. Okay, select all bones. What you're seeing here, these are the bone weight strengths. Each bone now has quite a bit of strength. You could bind the bones, not by points, but by layer, using the strength here to determine which bone manipulates what. That really works pretty well if you're manipulating out a raster image like a Photoshop document or a JPEG, something which is not made in vector out of points, that is actually an image. This is one way of doing it. We're not doing that, though. We're taking that down to 0. They're all gone. We're not even going to worry about it because it can cause problems if you're working in points. So, as we're on here, we're going to get the manipulate bone tool, and that is about right. Of course, nothing else is moving with it. That's fine. We're just kind of seeing how things are moving, and so far, so good. Yeah. See, yeah, that's not bad. Hey, that's actually not bad. Okay, we don't have to worry about getting the bones to back to default. They will default since we're on the 0 frame. which is where all this work should happen. If you're on frame 1, you're actually animating, and you don't want to do any animation right now. We're just trying to make sure everything is attached to where it should be. Now we've got the metals. Oh boy, do we ever. Okay, so this is a little tricky. So we're going to go back down to our hip bone here, where we need to select out. I'm going to do those 3 layers at 3 points right there and find them to that one. Okay, we're going to take this guy. I want to take the guys right here. Make sure we get the entirety of that metal. Grab this metal and that one and find points. That's actually a button, not a metal, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, and the rest of these, well, most of the rest of these, yeah, the rest of these do go up to here. Should that move? Should stay. I'm going to have that one stay in place. Okay, so a quick guesstimation. Oh yeah, that's kind. All right, that's excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, not bad. Okay, let's get the rest of the collar and done here. Okay, gonna bind the top of the collar to the neck bone. It's only the neck bone because it's in the neck bone position. That's the only way I know it is the neck bone. So that's just how that works. So we're going to get the rest of the neck points bound in here. Almost missed one. It's one right there. We want that guy to be bound to this. Okay. So let's go up to the arms. Okay, it gets a little bit tricky here, but not too tricky. I think I can pull this off. Okay, so let's take a look at the upper right arm and see what it's made like. Let's just see what this looks like. So we selected all the points here in the arm. Let's make sure our bone is selected. Back here, reselect those guys, hit bind points. Let's see what happens. Do I like this or not? And the answer is... I think I can make this work. I think it will look fine. Okay. Because this bone right here can be, in smart bones, changed out to be more curved, and in the side view, it will be fine. You won't have to worry about anything dragging off of my torso there. So I think we're going to go with that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I may change my mind later, because sometimes when you get it, you think it's a good idea, and you find out that it was a terrible, terrible idea. Oh, but it can all be undone. It's not mission critical that everything be perfect right off the gate. Helpful, yes. Critical, no. Okay, so now we're going to go into our hand layer. We only have one hand. Okay, so still with the lower right forearm. Bone selected. We're going into our right hand, and we're going to make sure that the tips of the hand that attach to it are going to be rigged to this bone here. And the rest of the hand is going to go to, of course, the hand bone, as one would expect. Right, and the reason why is because if you did not do that, whenever you would manipulate the bones like this, these 3 bones would be over here, and sometimes they might pop out. Now, that's not going to happen here because we got the collar, or the cuff, in the way. Which reminds me, I said I was going to do that, and I didn't do that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put some constraints on these shoulders, because they don't need to go in 360 degrees. There needs to be a very narrow... Your shoulders can only go up and down if you shrug so much. So we're going to make sure that that is the case. So we need to take this. So we get angle, go bone constraints with the bone selected. Both bones selected, actually. Check angle constraints. Okay, so this is the range, which is right now quite a huge arc. So we need that to be much less of an arc. So we're going to go from minus 70 to minus 5, and from 70 to 5. And we're going to hit close. Okay, that doesn't seem like a lot, but if you go to your manipulate, that's enough to get a pretty good shrugging going on. So that's exactly what I want. Now, you may want more of a shrug. You can put to 10 to 10, minus 10 to 10, whatever works for you. that's how I do that. So, moving right along. Go into the other arm here. Be in mind that on that layer, arm left, I just hit select all, bound all those points over like so. Okay, forearm here on the left side. Go down to the back up. Left arm, select all, that's Control A, bind points. All right, and let's go to our left hand. And we're with that forearm bone still selected, go to select those wrist guys right there, hit bind points, bow. Am I trying to find a catchphrase? Who knows? Chapow. No, that's terrible. Still need some work. The catchphrase, that is. But the hand rigging should be done. Let's take a quick peek here. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's see how the bend of the arm is going here. All right, so we're going to bend up to here. Hey, that's pretty good. There's a little bit of a deviation there, which can be fixed on the fly in animation, or if I wanted to fiddle around with it right now, I definitely could. Yeah. Oh, that's really good. So I'm just going to leave it at that exactly where it's at. And see, now this is why we have the constraints, because if you were pulling this up and you have no constraints, this bone could like swing all the way over here, and arm could be way out of whack over here. We don't want that. That looks unnatural unless you're trying to do some sort of crazy Japanese horror character that's going to arms and legs are going to flail all over the place in weird ways. Then, yeah, that's not bad. I'm going to keep that where it is too. That is definitely passable, is what I'd say. Well, let's go ahead and get those legs done. Okay, so legs. The way I do the interface with the hip sometimes can cause problems. So I usually do a lot of pickup here. Because what I should do is probably bind these guys right here to the hip. Should do. Let's see if this works. Okay. And I might change that out later. So I'm going to get the rest of the points that are in the leg, making sure that I get everything. And that guy right there. Is there one right there? All right, there's not one right there. I'm going to bind the points to there. Okay, moving on down to the lower leg. Leg right. Okay, so this is all like the boot and everything. We don't want to get everything because we have our foot control here. So we're going to make sure we select right about down to the ankles, right about there, and bind points. Now let's select that foot bone right there, not the foot control, not the right foot control target bone, but the actual bone that's pointed downward here, which is why I put them at 45-degree angles, and these are straight across to get some differentiation when you're binding, as you might mistakenly wrong thing. So make sure all those points are there. Bind points. Okay, back up to the top here. We're going to grab our hip bone, and we're going to go to the upper left leg. We'll grab those guys right there. And hey, that's not too awful bad. So now we're going to bind in the rest of the bones to the leg bone. Rest of the points to the leg bone. Okay. Lower leg bone and all these points up to right about here. I'm going to bind in and okay, make sure that you get the one that's at an angle. Bone, make sure that all the points possible that have not been bound are selected. Hit bind points. All right, and there we go. Let's do some targeting while we're here. That will save some time in our experimentation to see if things have worked. So, targeted for the right foot. That's targeted for the right foot. Okay, everything's okay. You can tell it's got that little circle on there. Just wanted to make sure everything's fine. Okay, let's go to reset view. Okay, so taking a look at our character, what we're going to do is we're just going to drag this guy and pull. Okay, the bones are going to get a little wacky. And the head's not rigged in yet, but generally speaking, that's not too bad. Let's raise that up. foot manipulation works. Raise that one up. Looks a little funky. So, I don't know. And when they go that way, they do look a little funky. I might have to... Yes, I'm afraid I'm going to... Yeah. All right, so I had rigged the top of those legs to the hip bone, but after seeing that, it's a little too funky because of these extra bits. Normally, that's not a problem. But with this uniform, it is. So let's experiment. Over there. Okay, we're going to take those 3 points and we're going to put them in with the rest of these guys. Like so. Now, let's see what this looks like. Oh, we can't because I've got a target bone. Let's see what this looks like now and see if we want to do it to the other leg. The answer is probably, but let's make sure. That hip bone's not following. But that's okay, I think. Actually, I think I can fix that. If I would go into here and do a slight bit of binding on those hips to here. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's go back up to our bone layer and experiment away. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a little bit of problems when the leg gets out to here, but that can be fudged out in actual animation. So we're going to go with this right here. This is actually quite excellent. So we're going to do that to the other side now. Both processes. Let's select that bone. Let's go down to our upper left leg layer. And let's take those 3 bones right over there. Wow. Now quickly up to the hips. Quickly, man. And we're going to bind these guys right up to here. And let's see what we've got. If we go out just a little bit, we might be able to manipulate this bone. Oh yeah, there we go. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do on that side. Mostly because whenever we do the body turn, she will be going to our left, so she'll be turning this way. So this leg will be kicking out more, and this one will be kicking this way. So I mean, we'll be swinging out that way primarily. So that being the case, we're going to take that point right there. We're going to rig that to our bone here. Just add it in. Boom, add it in. All right, now let's see what happens. Oh yes. Okay, that's quite good. All right, not bad. Okay, so now we're going to get that head. The head layers are really easy to rig. I usually save them for last because, honestly, we're just going into the shape still. Shape tool still activated on that one. We're going to click hair back. Oh, sorry. Click hair back here. And we're going to make sure that bone is selected. We're going to bind those points there. Okay. Get the bind points. Face, select all, bind points. Ear, select all, bind points. This is just a bunch of selecting and binding of points. I see that sometimes the shape tool is actually still activated on some of these guys. We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to go ahead and charge on ahead. Nose layer, select all, bind points. Okay. Let's see if we can select all. Can we bind these points up here in that group? Okay, good. Earlier versions, you couldn't bind points on layers that were in groups like the eye layer. You'd have to have them pulled out, bind them, and then put them back into the layer. They have solved that. Probably several versions ago, but I still remember the pain involved in getting that settled properly. That's one really good thing. I'm going to turn that off because that bugs me a little bit. that's one really good thing about Moho is that they really do take a look at their software and they really do try to make it as functional as possible. Okay, let's reset the view. Let's save. Let's go up to this bone layer. Let's see what we've got. Let's get our master control layer and let's push these guys down. Okay, not bad. Oh, no, we're not trying to do anything special in animation, but we are trying to... Ooh, that bone is too high. Well, all right. So the head control bone is too high. It needs to be down probably toward the top of the neck. I put it more like where a hair bone would be. She doesn't have any hair that's going to be flowing, so we're just going to move that down to right about here. See what it does now. Still too much. Okay. Rotate that up. And let's move that right about there and see what happens. Okay, that's good. We're just going to do that instead. Usually the horizontal bones in the head are usually meant to like anchor hair, and there would be other bones coming off of it. It may not have anything actually attached, bound to it, but the other bones would, and they'd have independent angles and various physics applied to them so that they would move with the hair. That setting, it changed somewhere between 13 and 14, and they do have a weight addition to it now, which makes the hair a little bit more flowy, like you would get in like Adobe Animate or Character Animator. But if you get your settings wrong, or if you have old settings and you're putting them into this version of it, that your hair will bounce around like it's in the middle of an earthquake, which is not a good effect at all. It's a terrible effect. Well, okay. Before we go any further, there's a couple things I need to do. Or maybe just one thing I need to do. Definitely one thing I need to do. And that's these metals. Okay. So they're rigged in the way they should be, which is great and grand and awesome. And furthermore, we'll do that first. We're going to select that layer. We're going to hit duplicate. Metals 2. Okay, so we're going to go back down to our metals layer, and we're going to put metals _ left. We're going to go over here to metals. Sorry, the actual layer setting window popped open. Lens _ right. Okay. Now these two guys, that's the origin. This is the not so origin. We're going to double click that guy, opening up our layer settings. Let me bring that down so you can see it. And we're going to go hit flip horizontally, and we're going to click OK, which is the bottom of that panel, which you cannot see. And you see that, boom. Okay, so now we have same metals duplicated over. We're going to make a switch layer out of this, and we're going to prepare to add layer, and it's going to be group with selection. Okay, and we're going to put this here, and we're just going to say metals, although it's not really metal. This is one metal and a bunch of buttons and a jacket line. So we're going to put that into there. Okay, now you right click on that and you go convert to switch. How? Now we can switch between these two layers. Now what we're doing here is cheating, because what I'm going to do is I'm only animating 180 degrees of a 360 degree turn. So basically you have your head-on portrait, you have a 3/4 view, you have a profile, you have a back 3/4 view, and then you have a back view. And instead of doing the other views to get true back around to front, what I would simply do is I'd go up to the top bone layer and hit flip horizontally, and then come down here and flip this metals left to metal right, so that when she turns back around this way, these metals will be where they should be. Clever and cheaty, and that's how I do things. It's time saving, really. It really is. I put the time into it, but I just tend to cheat a little bit and save a little bit of time. Is that effective in the long run? Who knows? It's worked so far. So I feel that this is pretty good so far. Yeah, it's not bad. But we gotta we have a few things we need to do before we go any further. We're going to select that hand layer. We're going to here, we're going to change that to group selection. And we're going to change this one to say hand left. And we will import any other layers that we may need into here. And size them up to match this hand. And now you'll be able to switch off hands. So we'll change that over to switch layer. There's only one in there right now, and there will only be one in there right now. Foreseeable future, anyway. Now we're going to go to the right hand and do the exact same thing. So, add new layer, group with selection. It's already in there. We're going to single click that guy to hand right, no underscore. And right click on that, change that to a switch layer. Wow. Now you can have multiple hand positions and switch between them without having to animate out fingers and stuff like that. If you wanted to, you could break up fingers individually. Is that a good idea? I don't know. I've only done it on certain things, like with Guarantees Typing Hand, and a few upcoming aliens have this sort of thing going on. Anyway, very cryptic, I know. Oh, and the other thing we need to do is we need to make the head layer. This is very important. The reason why the head needs to be in its own group is because we're going to do a head turn. The head turn needs to be able to order the layers independent of the rest of the body layers. So we'll do the head turn, and then when we do the body turn, we just take the head control bone and move it. I've done this previously, as you've probably seen. But it's very important in order for the head turn to work properly, for all the head layers to be in their own head folder. So let's go ahead and get that in there. Go to hair front, which I believe is at the front, and I believe we go down to the bun. We go up here to new layer, and we say group with selection, and we're just going to call that quite easily head. And we put that down, and there we go. All right, so go back up to the bone layer. See if you move the hip layer here. The feet always, because these bones here are pointing at these targets, it's going to point there. I can move these targets independently too, and create all sorts of things. You could possibly want to. Oh, guess what I forgot to do? See, and that's why you play around bones before you go into the body turn. Make sure that everything's... This should be moving everything, and it's not. Now, do you want that? It's an interesting hula effect here we got going on. But no, we do not want that. Talked myself out of it. So let's reparent to there. Okay. So we just selected the bone that we need to reparent. Select the parent. It was pointed here. Now we just select the bone where it's going to parent. That red arrow goes to here. And everything is as it should be. There's no secondary vibrational physics going on up here. We're going to say that everything's locked down tight. It's not necessary for this character anyway. I don't know. Gaffer's tape. Anyway. Since the Star Wars day. You don't know what that means? I'm not going to explain it. Moving right along. Okay, so there we go. We're about 30 minutes into this guy right now. Yeah, we're about 30 minutes in. No, wait, no, we're not. We're 40 minutes in. Aha. Well. I think I'm going to go ahead and rig up, at least create the smart bone controls. We might do some smart boning today, but we will not do the entirety of the smart bones. So as you notice, the body turn takes a long time, as does the head turn. But we might go ahead and create and rig up those that we need. Okay, so I just need to be able to see the master control bone. Let's just call that master control. Ooh. Alrighty, so when making smart bones, I tend to start with the eyes. She will not need, she'll need an eye side to side. Okay, now we have to, the bone selection tool, go back to the master control. And she'll need an eye up down. There's another way of doing this where you can actually create like a target that the pupils would follow. It's basically kind of using these bones, and it's making a little bit of a GUI. I don't really do that. Some people like doing that. I like using the bones because I'm difficult. I don't know. Difficult, lazy, I don't know, take your pick. We're going to go ahead and go here and show those labels. And also while we're here, we're going to go to bone constraints. Put some angle constraints on these guys. They're going to go from -90 to 90. There we go. Hey, there we go. All right. Also, we'll need a here. And this one exactly the same, so you get nice 180 movement there. We're going to call this the blink. It's also surprise eyes. I just call it blink usually. Down is blink, and then up is your widest that your eyes possibly can go. They won't need a double eyebrow control on this one, so she is just going to end up having here. Let's check, make sure everything's pointed back to where they should be. Okay, very good. Here we're going to do one brow control and about the same as that. I'm going to put this as just brow, and we're going to put angle constraints on this as well. You could probably wait until they're all done and then put angle constraints on them if you wanted to save a bit of time that way. Probably not a bad idea. Which I would have thought of that. Okay, so what we need now is we'll need our main smart bone controls for the head up down. This one right here. I make those a little bit bigger. This also has a very similar bone constraint structure on there on the angles. Okay, and now we're going to go back to our master control. And pulling that up. I'm going to go to there. I'm going to call this one head turn. All right. Now, the constraints on this one are a little bit different. Just a slight bit different anyway. So I'm going to go into the constraints. So this one goes down to 180 because this is the head turning so that we're seeing the back of the head. And this one will go to, we can go to 45. We just need to kind of like to turn to our right to 3/4 view. For the most part. So that's what's going on there. Okay, now all these bones, let's make sure that they're all pointed back down to master control. They definitely are. Very good. All right. Because you don't want to parent it to each other because that will be disastrous. So we're going to select all of these guys because guess what? They've got strength to them. And we don't want that. We're going to take that down to 0. There we go. Okay, so now basically your control rig will basically follow your master control around. That's why we do this. So when the character walks off the screen, these will follow it. You won't have to keep going back to the other side of the screen or wherever the character started. and manipulating out the face control bones. Oh, I guess we should also do, while we're here, the body turn. I'm sure other people have constructed much better ways of doing this. It's at 0. And we're going to take this one down to 180. Make sure that's where it should be. Okay, and that's got strength. We don't want that. Let's get rid of that strength. Bam, down to 0. Okay, let's double check. Everything looks like it's good. All right, well, we have a bit more time today, so let's do just a very, very, very little bit of smart bone rigging. Okay, so let's bring in the actions panel. I usually keep hidden off the side. Chin this a little bit here. I usually start with the eyes. So I'm going to use my on the bone layer. Expand that out, go to the head layer, and we're going to go down and expand out our eye layers. We'll be needing them. So, with that selected, we're going to go up here to the new action button. It will say action name, and it will have the bone name that you have selected if it's going to work. If this is action 12 or something like that, then no, that's not what you're after. So you're going to click OK. The timeline turns blue. Excellent. All right, so we're going to go to 4 on this one, and we're going to take our rotate tool with the bone selected. We're going to rotate it this way. Let's start. So we're going to take our pupils, make sure that you have your points, not your layer tool. You can do your layer. You could do layer manipulation. 1 or 2. I'm doing point manipulation here to make it consistent. And I'm just going to drag that guy over to there. Same thing here. Going to drag that guy over there. Okay, and that is all rigged up. They follow the movement of the bone. And that is what we want. So we're going to go back to mainline, go back up here to the bone layer. Okay. New action here, and it'll say the name of your bone with a 2. That's your second action. You can do multiple actions on each bone. We're only doing 2 on this one because we're doing the other way. So we're going to go back out here to point 4. Timeline has turned blue. Everything is working the way it should. Now we're going to rotate this guy this way, and we're going to go to our pupae. Pupils. Pupies. Hands. Yeah. Immediate stage for hands. Anyway, or insects. I'm gonna move right over there. How? Okay, let's go up to the bone layer and go to mainline and see what we got. Okay, use our manipulate bone tool and. All right, hey, that's working like it should. All right, let's move on. Eye up down. Make sure we're on the bone layer. New action. Name of the bone here. Timeline turns blue. Ow. Let's rotate this guy up. And let's move these pupils. Oops. I'm actually scaling. Did not want to scale. Right there. Okay, gonna go back to the timeline. Back to mainline. That's selected. Hit action. Name the bone with a 2. Also means everything's working. Timeline is also blue. And now we're going to go down. Now I'm going to move those pupils in the downward direction. There we go. Alrighty. Very good. So the eyes are rigged. Let's see what it looks like. Back to the main line. Manipulate tool. And there we go. Excellent, excellent. While we're on the subject of eyes, let's go ahead and get the blink out of the way. So back, make sure we're on the bone layer here. Select the blink bone, and hit new action. Timeline's blue. it's ready to go. So we're going to rotate this guy down. Okay, this is going to be a little bit trickier. So now, getting a bit closer. We've got to manipulate the bones of the eyelashes here. The points of the eyelashes to match this. Select that point right there. With G, hitting T for transform, we're now going to try to close these guys up as close as possible. Let's get in quite a bit closer here. And let's take the angle out of here to make sure that locks up tight. Let's make sure that these 2 points are as close as they can get. Not 100% necessary, no, but it will help kind of sell things a little bit. Manipulate these guys out just a little bit. Oh yeah, this looks pretty good. Okay, now we got to do the same thing for the other side. Oops. Right, down to there. Down to there. We're going to select that guy and take his angle. Ooh, I did not mean to do that. Let's try to select one, not all the entire of them. The entirety of every point in the entire project, that would be bad. All right. There. Get down to there, take that over there, and we're going to bring that over here. Eye up just a skosh. Let's see what we got. That's good. Okay. Now we could animate each eye individually if we needed a wink or something like that, with 2 smart bones, one for each eye. But in this case, this character did not need that, so we're not going to do that at this time. So back down to the main line, back up to the bone layer. Let's make sure that we are on the right bone. We're still on the blink bone. Blink 2, timeline turns blue. Okay, now we got to rotate this guy up as far as it'll go. And as far as it will go. Okay, I hadn't clicked down enough. Okay, so now this is what I like to call the surprise eyes. So what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate these eyes as much as possible to kind of get a surprised look to them. I think if I went to do that, I'd change that over just to... Yeah, that's better. Yes, okay. There we go. Oh yeah, let's get the other one. That's probably like way more than I'll actually use, but it's good to have that extra bit there just in case you decide you do need it. In my opinion. Others may disagree. You have to use your own judgment in your own project. Okay, so there we go. Very shocked. Very, very, very shocked. All right. And slightly indignant with those eyebrows. We're back to the bone layer. Let's go back up to mainline. All right, now we're going to select those eyebrows. Okay, the brows, again, could be have a smart bone for each brow. We're just doing both with one for this character. Select the bone, make sure you're on the bone layer. New action. Name of the bones there. And hey, let's go to frame 96, second 4. And let's rotate this down and go to the brow layer. Okay, so this is going to be angry eyebrows. She already has angry eyebrows. Angrier eyebrows. Anyway. Slightly angrier eyebrows. All right, so T for transform. Actually, no, I didn't need all that selected after all. All right. So we're going to go back to the bone layer and to mainline. Click on mainline. Okay, so there we're lost our blue color in the timeline. We're back in the mainline. Okay, so now we're going to do the surprise version of those eyebrows. Select them, make sure we're on the bone layer. Click there, name the bone with a 2, which is what we're wanting. Go to second number 4 or frame 96, and we're just going to rotate that to the upward position. And now we're going to move these eyebrows into a look of shock and surprise. Oops. Undo that. Okay, move that right about to there. Okay, now it's not going to quite work as effectively as I'd hoped. As eyebrows are pretty heavily arched. Infantino style. Carmen Infantino style. Anyway, so we're going to is that even a little bit. Yeah, that's not bad. I think that is what we're going to go with. There. Those guys, move them over a bit. And select T to transform. Alrighty. Well, so as you can see, some smartphone rigging has already been done. Let's just take a quick peek and see how this all works together. So, that I think looks pretty good on the control riggy part of things. And we're on an hour mark. So that's basically the character creation from scratch with the bone rigging and smart boning. Now, this smart bone pattern is going to pretty much follow the previous smart bone pattern that I had done with the guard officer dude, which I had repurposed from a tech, put on a new head. And so we're going to put the head up, down, head turn, and then put the body turn in here. And it's pretty straightforward from there. Well, but very time consuming. So the next live stream that we go, I probably will go ahead and have the main head parts already rigged up and be into the body turn. I think that's where I have not done a lot of streaming. Probably be more interesting than going over something you've seen before in the same way. So that's what we'll probably do. Is the next time is the body turn, and this character will be done, ready to be integrated into the scene, which is really handy because I'm kind of doing the long shot right now of the scene where she's being introduced. It will be in a Blender-made hallway and have like little tiny, very generically rigged people wandering through. In theory, using particle systems and modifiers I don't quite fully understand how they work, but that's the point of learning. One day I may feel confident enough in Blender to do something complicated in Blender, but I do have planned after this character of doing a stream in Blender where I'm creating a bunch of generic Starship assets for the planet Torakanka, which is a spaceport, which will have a lot of activity in it and a lot of different types of spaceships. So I'll be creating some low poly spaceships there and adding a few materials onto them and glows and whatnot to help sell it. And it should be fun. So the creativity gets to flow. So, all right, so that is it. Thank you for watching. If you guys have any questions, just let me know and I'll be sure to answer them. Remember, there are no dumb questions, but there are dumb answers. All right, thank you very much and have a great day.